Hello everyone, welcome back to the React.js course. So in the last video, we have created a connection between our MySQL server, if you want, excuse me, MySQL database and the Node.js server. So we could actually send requests from the client, which is the React app, into our database to get, if you want, specific rows, or if you want, we can insert into specific tables and whatsoever. Okay. So first of all, we are going to go back to MySQL workbench and first create a new user. Okay, so I totally advise you to do that. So I'm gonna name it React, excuse me, and the password is going to be React course 1234. You can name it whatever you want. React course 1234. So I'm going to first go to administrative roles, and please do check all these all these checks so you could have a privilege and permission to add, create tables or whatever. And then you click on apply. So we have a new user that we are going to use. So let me go back to the index.js, and instead of root, type in React. And instead of the password, I'm going to type in the new password. React course 1234. And one thing to note that in the last video, instead of MySQL here, I typed in require by on purposely. So please do check that you have MySQL here instead of require. Okay, so let me split the terminal and run my server. So cd server, and we use nodemon for simplicity. Node, excuse me, index.js. Okay, so we have our server running on port 3002. Okay, so let me go to my SQL workbench. I have created my user. So in the schema, in the project one, double click on table to create a new table. So we are going to have a table called users, and for simplicity, it's going to only have a as in columns, first name and last name. So we can insert a new user that has a first name and last name. So for the name, I'm going to call it users. And as for the columns, of course, we have always an ID that is the primary key that defines a specific row and cannot be duplicated. So always the primary key defines one specific row in the table. So we cannot have a multiple users that have the same ID, but we can have, let's say, for example, multiple users that have the same first name. And you can check also auto incremented, so we can it automatically increments whenever you add a new user. Okay, and we are going to add in a column first name varchar, and I don't want it to be null, so nn means not null, and same thing we for the last name, so also not null. And then we apply. And good thing about MySQL that is it shows you the SQL code whenever you want to create something or do something manually. And you can click on apply, and then we have created our new table. So you can double click and select rows limit 1000, so you can see our table is now empty. Okay, so we have 3 columns: the ID, users, first name and last name. And now we are going to add in if several first names and last name into this table. Okay, so let me go to the front end first in the app.js. So that was our front end, very simple, and an input and a button. I'm not going to use the input today. I'm just going to first change the endpoint name to add user. Okay, and I'm gonna hard code the body that I'm gonna send. So I want to set in a first name, John, and last name Doe. Okay, so this is our first name and last name that we're gonna send to the server. And don't forget that this endpoint that we are going to use now to be able to create a new endpoint inside of the Node.js server, so we can access the server with a specific key. So let me create this endpoint. So app.post. So we are going to the endpoint is add user, same as the front end. And of course we are going to have a rec and a res. The rec, don't forget that it is the request that we're getting from the front end, and the res that if you want to send something back to the front end. Okay, so let me first create the two variables that are the first name and last name. So rec.body.firstname to get my first name that I'm getting from the React app, and same thing for the last name. So rec.body.last name. Okay, perfect. Now comes the fun part. So we are going to use the SQL language to be able to insert inside of our table, which is users. Okay, so I'm going to write in the code and then explain what we have done. So first we are going to use the DB concept that we have created to be able to connect to the database, and I want to add in db.query. So I'm gonna type in the SQL query that we're going to use. So insert into users, first name, last name, values. I'm going to explain everything, don't worry. And then after that, I'm going to pass in first name, last name, and in case of an error and the result, I want to, if I have an error that occurred, I want to console.log it. Okay, so perfect. So first of all, when it comes to the SQL code, I really do advise you to go and check the syntax of it, because I'm not going to go through it within that course. So, but it's very self-descriptive. So we're inserting inside of the users table, first name and last name. What these two exclamation mark mean, okay, these are called prepare statements. So people argue that they are good for SQL injection. So whenever SQL injection is when a hacker tries to hack our database through the React app, he could, like, say for example, write in any SQL code inside in an input of our of React, and let's say for example press submit. It could maybe drop a table or do something inside of our backend. Okay, so you can go and check and research what prepare statements are. And then these explanation marks, to be able to fill them, we then pass in an array. So first name maps to this first explanation mark, and last name maps to the other one. So as much as you have like explanation marks, you need to have the same amount of if you want variables or objects inside of this array. And we have added also an error and result whenever if something occurs as an error from the front end or the back end, we need to see it here inside of our console.log. Okay, so that is it. So we are going to test it right now. So all we have to do is go to the front end and press on send, and it should something should happen. Okay, so let me go and first save everything to make sure that everything is running fine. So I go and press on the button send. First, I can see that I do not have any errors inside of the console.log, so that is good. So let me go and check and press on run. And we can see here that we have added John Doe, first name and last name, inside of our database with inside of the table users. Okay, and you can see that we have incremented as one. So I did not mention something about the ID, so it automatically increments. So now if I want to add another user, for example, Joe Doe, for example, let me go back, press on the button, and let me refresh, and we can see that I have Joe Doe, and that has an ID of 2. Okay, so that was it for this video. I hope you like it and you have understood everything. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask your questions on the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video.